Good morning, everyone. We are here today to celebrate and to recognize $271 million of investment through the American Rescue Act. And I'll note where we're at right now, which is East Lake Street. If you think back to 24 months ago, this was a corridor that got hit extremely hard by the global pandemic, then got hit extremely hard by the unrest following the murder of George Floyd. This is a community that is strong, that is resilient, and due to the partnerships that have been created over the last couple of years, is coming back in a major way. We at the City of Minneapolis are proud to have invested that $271 million in people that needed it most, in making sure that we were replenishing our city coffers, and in making sure that the overarching values that we have held are getting the necessary monies and the financial support that they need. And whether that was housing or public safety, whether that was economic inclusion or climate resiliency, that $271 million went out. And by the way, we got it out just about as fast as any city in the entire country. And that means that it was a ton of work from our city staff, from our city council members, and partnering with community. And I think as you see our city come back, what you show is that our people are strong. Our people are resilient. The city knows how to work together. They know how to be compassionate to those that are struggling most. And when you have that kind of collective action, when you have our federal partners step up, and by the way, thank you to Senators Klobuchar and Smith, to Congresswoman Omar, thank you so much, because this work together is helping to bring our city back. And so there were more than a few people, looking back 24 months ago, that would have said that this corridor is not going to come back. There are more than a few people that doubted the resiliency and the strength of our city and the people in it. I think the message here today is that we don't quit. We get knocked down, but we get back up again. And when we get the necessary resources, when we get that support, and when we work with our community members, really amazing things happen. And I think that is emblematic of what's happening right here on this particular spot. And just to give you a little rundown of how this $271 million are spent, I'll give you just a few examples. $40 million for affordable housing and for people who are experiencing homelessness. $3 million for a guaranteed basic income pilot. We had 5,400 businesses that got full breaks in their license fees. So as they were coming back, as they were struggling themselves, we made sure that we at the city weren't adding the extra burden of a license fee or a liquor fee. Also, over 144,000 people filed for unemployment insurance in 2020. That's a whole lot of people. These are people that have at some point been looking to make some form of transition in their life. And so we allocated $1 million to make sure that they had the necessary technical assistance and the training to come back to the workforce, at times to make a career change that was going to better and improve their life. We also want to continue to support the amazing community safety work that is happening, and $2.1 million went to the Minneapolis Violence Interrupters. And then finally, we love our city employees. They do incredible work. They've been through a whole lot over these last couple of years, and we wanted to make sure that that money went to replenishing our coffers, went to bringing people back to our city in terms of the staff, and made sure that they were recognized for their wonderful contributions through financial support and bonuses and rolling back some of the furloughs that they had to take, and they were willing to. So in conclusion here, I want to say I'm so proud of this city. I believe in Minneapolis, and what is so evident is the people in this community believe in this community. You see that up and down Lake Street. You see that up and down West Broadway. You see that in the fact that there are lines out the door and down the hall in the Skyway downtown. Little bit by bit, you see the city coming back to life, and it's because of the people in it. So I'm so proud to be working here with the people up here with me. We've got a number of council members who I'm going to be introducing here shortly. We've got city staff that are here that have done an amazing job putting all of this together. And we have community members that have supported as well, which I'm also going to be introducing shortly. But first, a few other people to thank. CPED. They've been here since day one, working to make sure that these monies got out in short form. Health and the Office of Violence Prevention. Andrea Inouye in my office. I'm going to do a whole round of thank yous later. You'll hear them. But to make this money go out in such short order, which it did, we needed to have the mayor's office and the council offices partnering. And this is an example of partnership where it really, really worked. We had wonderful meetings with our City Council President, Andrea Jenkins, and our Council Vice President, all the council members early on to make sure that we were aligned in the overarching vision, and that vision was passed. And so a huge thank you to all of them, and I want to invite up our City Council President, Andrea Jenkins, who has been at the table advocating for community and making sure that these resources got out in short order from the very beginning. Council President Andrea Jenkins.
Thank you, Mayor Frey, and good morning, everyone. As the mayor noted, my name is Andrea Jenkins, president of the council, and I sort of led an economic recovery work group right after the uprisings that we saw in our city that created so much devastation along Lake Street and other parts of our city. And we would bring all of the different teams together to talk about how do we bring Lake Street back. And so it's great to be able to stand here today and acknowledge the support we receive from our federal partners to be able to help bring this recovery to fruition. Part of what we've done with our American Rescue Act funds is to be able to fund some of our violence prevention work. The mayor mentioned that some of those funds went to Minneapolis Us, which is our community-based intervention programs. We invested $6.5 million into public safety initiatives, which includes our behavioral health, mental health crisis response team. It's called Canopy. We have invested in our community-based groups to be able to address some of the issues, and I know we have some of our some representatives from some of those organizations here today. We are really serious about how do we transform public safety in our communities. We know that it is policing has to go beyond just armed officers to address the crime and safety issues that we have in our communities. And so to that end, we are investing in a truth and reconciliation process that we believe will help us deal with some of the foundational systemic issues in our community, as well as investments in the Sabanthony Community Center to be able to try to create job opportunities and training opportunities for this new green economy, to be able to support young people and give alternatives to the violence that we see on our streets. And so we, as the mayor mentioned, we have been getting these dollars out in rapid form and really trying to address some of the most critical issues in our community. And so next, I'm going to just introduce Council Vice-President Palmisano to talk a little bit more about some of the investments that we're making with our ARPA fund. So, Council Member.
Hello, I'm here to highlight some of the climate investments that we've made. We all know that we need urgent action on climate change. And as a whole, our state and federal governments have made it even more important for cities like Minneapolis to step up and take bold action. our CARES Act money has enabled us to accelerate some of that work. Minneapolis is a leader in prioritizing strategic climate initiatives. Thanks to this historic investment, the CARES Act money, we're seeing a number of those strategies accelerated, like our priority to increase our urban tree canopy. The tree canopy coverage across the city on the whole is decreasing. As population density continues to increase, our canopy has to expand to help us offset the increases in air pollution and heat island effects and ensure that our neighborhoods are a healthy environment for our residents. This $1 million investment that we made in the tree canopy helps to speed up the existing work of our Climate Resilience Steering Committee, and it helps to ensure more trees are going to be planted sooner in some of our heat islands, some of our near north and our south green zones, and also in downtown. Thanks to another $2 million investment, we're able to expand our green cost share program, bringing energy efficient and renewable energy assistance to both residents and businesses. And these are in places that are especially energy burdened, right? They're especially burdened areas of our city in many ways. Residents and businesses are desperately looking for ways to reduce their carbon footprints, but they don't always have access to the financing and the cleaner technologies and utilities that they would need to install. This additional investment in our ongoing efforts will let us bring those cleaner solutions to our residents sooner and help to make us a more sustainable and resilient city. I will transition now to our budget chair, Council Member Koski.
Hey. All right.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Koski. I'm the council member for Ward 11 and chair of the Budget Committee. As chair of the Budget Committee, I had the opportunity to support my fellow council members as we worked through ARPA Phase 2. And I'm glad to be here today to talk about what we were able to accomplish and the projects, programs, initiatives that the City of Minneapolis has supported through this funding. One of my additions to ARPA Phase 2 was a pilot program that supports small businesses in gaining compliance with the city's labor standards. This pilot program is a progressive, innovative addition to the City of Minneapolis that allows us to prioritize equity and resiliency in our business community. Plus, it's a win-win for both small businesses and their employees. I'm so grateful to Director Brian Walsh of the Labor Standards Enforcement Division and for Director Alberta Gillespie of the Department of Civil Rights for working alongside me to create the proposal for this pilot program. Another one of my additions to the ARPA Phase 2 that I worked on with Councilmember Elliott Payne was 2 additional vans for our behavioral crisis response teams. To me, this was how we could support the expansion of the behavioral crisis response teams, which are an outstanding example of the alternatives to police response that we can and should offer in the City of Minneapolis. I'd also like to thank my fellow council members for their collaborative work and for the additions that they brought forward. These include a comprehensive engagement process on the next steps and redevelopment of the 3rd precinct site, a program to support businesses in making their single-stall restrooms gender-neutral by providing gender-neutral restroom signs, additional funding for technical support and outreach to small businesses impacted by the pandemic and civil unrest through the city's Business and Technical Assistant Program, specific communication to the East African community, and street lighting improvements for the Stevens Square, Loring Heights neighborhood. There are no shortages of tremendous challenges facing the City of Minneapolis and our communities as we begin to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, which is why I'm grateful to see the 2nd phase of funding from the American Rescue Plan Act going to support our housing sector, public safety efforts, economic recovery, and rebuilding capacity here in the City of Minneapolis. And I look forward to seeing the impact that this has in our communities. As I close out my remarks, I'd like to take a moment to thank city staff who worked with me throughout this entire process. Here today, we do have Budget Director Mila Kruver and City Clerk Ken Daler. As a new City Council member, and chair of the Budget Committee. I am grateful for their expertise and their support. Thank you so much.
All right.
I'd now like to hand it over to Council Member Jason Chavez, who can speak to some work that he's doing right here on East Lake Street. Thank you.
All right.
Hi everyone, Jason Chavez, council member of this area. I just want to start by saying welcome to Ward 9.
Hey.
I am very proud to be here today with my colleagues in my neighborhood. I live actually 2 blocks from here, so very happy and honored to be here in front of all of you talking about the historic $271 million in ARPA funding here in Minneapolis. Small businesses in cultural districts have spoke loud and clear and asking support before and even after the pandemic has begun. And while these challenges are not new, we are proud to begin in full force to address the issues ahead of us and before us. We have funded the Business and Technical Assistant Program in 4 cultural districts, East Lake Street, 38th Street, Cedar Avenue, and West Broadway, and the surrounding businesses because we know that this goes beyond just the cultural districts. This will allow us to work directly and to do outreach to small businesses so they can get the technical support that they deserve, especially these businesses being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm very proud that the council, the mayor, and our city staff have prioritized this in making this a reality for the areas that have been impacted. We also know that the pandemic has also caused multiple challenges to our neighborhoods, from many fearing the lack of safety and a lack of support oftentimes, to others asking for us to revitalize our cultural districts. The East Lake Street corridor and West Broadway corridor are going to receive incredible investments due to this funding. We know that it will address the city's backlog in lighting requests, convert 151 streetlights to LED, which is really important, and install 48 lights next to 2 schools. This helps address a lot of the public safety issues in these 2 beautiful cultural districts, and I'm very proud of the work of my colleagues to make sure that this happened. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. And next, I would like to invite up Kelly Drummer, who's the executive director here of McGeezy, who has been here throughout to make sure that this particular project comes to fruition, gets back online for people in our community that need the help. She's going to both acknowledge the funds that have been received, but also, I think, talk about what is to come in terms of the next steps for this project. Huge round of applause for Kelly Drummer.
Impetuous day, good day. Thank you all for coming and sharing our space, our new building here on East Lake Street. In 2019, we opened a new building on 27th Avenue, and during the civil unrest, we lost that building 9 months later. And so we came together and regrouped, and we purchased this building in January of 2021, and then celebrated a healing walk from 27th to this space here, and the mayor was also present that day. But we are investing $5.5 million into this building. We're adding on to the structure, and the city, their dollars have definitely supported the development of this building, but also the programming that is a part of our work. The city is contributing to our geothermal well, which will be right here where we're standing, and then solar arrays, 3 different solar arrays on our roof. And then the ARPA dollars will go to support our programming, which we work in Green Jobs Pathways with young people from middle school to high school. We have a long-standing First Persons Productions media program, which works in film, social media, radio and podcasting. Best Buy will be investing in a teen tech center that will be state-of-the-art here. And then we have, this was an old YMCA, which will be a community center for our young people. We work with 200 young people at South High in the All Nations program, and we're literally a block away from South High School. So us being present here on Lake Street is very important. We've been located on Lake Street for over 25 years in various buildings, and so happy to rebuild here, and thank you all for this opportunity to tell you our story.
Thank you, Kelly. This is just such a perfect example about how these dollars can get put to good use to make sure these corridors are coming back to life. Next up is one of my oldest friends in Minneapolis. I've known Fartun Welly since my very first days here in the city. And I remember the very first days as she was beginning the legal documents to set up Isaroon. And so let's bring up my good friend, Fartoon Welly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for inviting us. As we all talked about the crisis before COVID-19, food insecurity was an issue for our community here in Minneapolis and Minnesota. So Isaroon does have a culturally specific food shelf that supports our families through stabilization. And thank you for giving us a grant about $145,000. And what that money will do is add a staff driver to our existing food shelf capacity, which will increase our families that are coming to our office, that are about 200 families per month, to increasing 400 families per month, which then will have us able to serve 3,000 family members per month. We cannot address poverty and urban mobility without making sure our families are stable in food support, specifically culturally food for support. And we at Isaroon, we believe, ensuring immigrants and refugee families to have opportunities of financial well-being and stability. And the most important is, how do we address food insecurity is the core of everything. Housing is an issue, but if families are worried what they're going to feed their kids, it's a big issue. So I appreciate the support, and I'm also here, and I'm grateful seeing my council member, Jenkins, and everyone else. Thank you, Mayor, and every city council member, what you're doing for us. And the work continues. Poverty is an issue, but all we really need, our families need, our opportunities, and it looks like that's the journey that we're in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fartoon. Next up is Mohammed Abdullah, who is part of our violence prevention team, and specifically with Touch Outreach. You know, working on a top priority, the top priority of safety right now requires a whole ton of partners, and you know, Touch and the work that you do, Mohammed, is an exceptional example. Come on up.
Well, how you guys doing today? Like Mr. Mayor said, my name is Mohammed Abdullah. I'm the Executive Director for Touch Outreach, and I'm also the project manager overseeing the Minneapolis, the strategic outreach program led through the City of Minneapolis. Well, I'd like to touch a little bit about public safety today. Just last year, the last of last year, 2021, the violence interrupters, the work that we do on the streets, helped de-escalate over 2,000 de-escalations. You know, we help. You know, that's a lot of conflict that we had to de-escalate within the last part of last year with the uptick in our city of Minneapolis. And just with that alone, you know, and our investments with the federal level, and thank you to Mr. Mayor and the council for making this investment to, you know, to support our work. But just imagine if we can invest more into the work. Our work can go just beyond just being violence intervention, right, and violence prevention. You know, our work can go as far as, you know, helping out with, you know, food distribution, homelessness, you know, just a broad of different things that we can help out with in our communities. But you know, I'd just like to just take this time to just thank, you know, the city again and our partners on the federal level for making this investment, and, you know, just continue to invest in the communities. And thank you to McKinsey for having us here at the McKinsey Center. And, you know, we need programs like this to continue to happen and spring up in our community, because it helps, you know, our communities become, you know, invested in our youth, you know, because right now our city is just in an uptick of violence. And, you know, I just wanted to come and just share a little bit about, you know, the work that we do, and just wanted to thank the city of Minneapolis and also our federal partners for investing in this work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. And finally, Henry Jimenez from the Latino Economic Development Center, who has been doing an extraordinary amount of work right here on the street for quite some time. Really appreciate your work. Henry Jimenez.
Thank you, Mayor Frey and council members. I really appreciate that we get to celebrate inclusivity today. This is not just about the American Rescue Plan. It's about really the inclusive economic recovery plan that the mayor and the leaders from the city council have brought us all together to have really inclusivity and how we all move forward together as a city It's not just something that the people of Minneapolis are saying, it's something that everybody here is embracing. And as you can see with my colleagues here today, it really is an inclusive recovery plan, and one that we had a lot to say. And we can see it not just on paper, but in this building and in this infrastructure that we're about to be investing on Lake Street. But two things that I wanted to make sure that we touched on. This plan is going to support cultural districts, and we're in one of them right now. The Lake Street corridor is one of the most important here in the city, but I would argue that it's actually one of the most important in the state, if not in the region. And so when we invest in a place like Lake Street, we're really investing in the state and in the region, and that's really important to note. That's how we bring people in. That's how we make sure that everybody succeeds, is by investing where everybody's making sure that they're able to feed their families, and they're doing so here in our backyard, and it's on Lake Street. The second thing is the BTAP program. The Latino Economic Development Center really is one of those beneficiaries of that program. We get to provide technical assistance to many businesses along this corridor and along the city. And investing in that program has directly invested in us, which means we're investing in our Latino and other immigrant businesses. And I look forward to the full recovery of this region. And this is how we're going to do it. And I really much appreciate that inclusivity is at the core of our investments here in Minneapolis. So thank you, Jacob Frey, Mayor Frey, and council members. And I really appreciate everybody's support. Thanks.
Thank you. One point, a couple of thank yous, and then we're going to open it to questions. One of the main points here is that sometimes the most extraordinary things that our city does, they happen with little fanfare because it wasn't controversial. There weren't big fights or arguments, and I think this is a prime example. $271 million is going towards really good work that's happening in our city. Right now, we were one of the first cities in the entire country to get this money out. And guess what? I think it was a pretty much unanimous vote at the end. And we signed it as soon as it hit my desk. This is incredible work, and I want to make sure that people around the city know that it's happening. And by the way, you can see it. You can see it come to fruition on corridors like this one. Bunch of thank yous. First, to all the council members, to our council president, who has been leading on these efforts, to council Vice-President Palmisano, who has constantly been at the table working out some of the most difficult dynamics that we have. She always leans in. To our budget chair, Member Koski. I was blown away by how she led these meetings and made sure that all of this work came to a righteous place. To Council Member Jason Chavez, who is an ongoing advocate for his ward right here in Ward 9. Did I forget anybody? No, I got the council members. And also to our community members that are here with us and who have taken the courage to speak out and to support the work and partner with us. Thank you. And then to all of our budget team and finance team, Amelia, Adam, Lori specifically. None of this could have happened without you. Thank you for your dedication. To Kelly Drummer and McGeezy, thank you so much for hosting us today and all of the service that you continue to provide to our Native community. To our three other community members, Fartoon, Henry, and Mohammed, thank you. To our city staff from CPED to Health to OVP, et cetera, thank you so much. To Andrea in my office, thank you for all of your work and sweat and everything that you have poured into this budget work. And by the way, there's been like 5 budgets that we've had to put out in the last couple of years where we would normally do like 2. And so it's been a whole lot of work for everybody all around. Thank you. And with that, I'll open it to any questions that you might have. That's a great question. So the question was, how much of this $271 million is already out the door versus allocated? And what are the percentages behind it? Let me get you an accurate answer. Amelia, do you have that on hand? Or no, we don't have it on hand right now, but we will get that figure for you. It has all been allocated. A lot of it is out the door already. Some of that money went to replenishing city coffers, either to staff support. In some cases, the support we got from the feds went to replenishing furloughs. Some of it went to bonuses to staff to keep them, to retain and to recruit. So there's a bunch of money that has gone all around, but we can get you those numbers. What other questions? Nothing else? Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it.